Hello everybody, Gamers Guild here. Welcome everyone back to a brand new video. Guys, today we're gonna have morning coffee with Craig. I've already made another video, footage, however you say that. I've already made other footage of it, but I recognized my desktop audio on OBS was not quite working, so we're gonna have morning coffee with, Craig here, and he's going to talk about anti-gun stories and how they go horribly wrong. Keep in mind, Craig, by me making this video, I'm trying to help spread the news. Okay, spread that news, that beautiful news. Here we go. Lutheran Reformation, everybody. Got my coffee? Let's do this.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome
Morning.
to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in.
I have my coffee.
Please, once again, make it a point to like and share this video.
This is
Whether
good
you're
coffee.
on Facebook or YouTube, please help us to spread the word about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the nation's preeminent grassroots organizer when it comes to
Sit normal here.
Grassroots when it comes to fighting for your Second Amendment rights.
Sweet.
Anyway, so today's topic.
Gonna do that.
Okay, so once again, everybody's talking about, still talking about Florida.
Now, I'm not sure when this was made. I'm sure it was made at some point in time in the past when there was like these mass shootings with assault rifles. And that still goes on today. People talk about assault rifles, even though that word isn't specifically talking about a gun that even exists, or a type of gun. It's usually carbine or stuff like that. But I've never heard when people actually talk legitimately about guns, about assault rifles. I guess you could technically say that in the past there have been, but it's generally just a word that was spread for mass popularity, just to get the Second Amendment rights taken away from you. I think he might get into this. I haven't seen the entire video yet. I've been saving it for YouTube. So yeah. But that's generically where I'm at with this video right now. Let's continue.
Still talking about the shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida. Yesterday,
I got Lutheran Reformation
about a story
501 years ago now
on a local station. Well, not really local. It's out of the Bay Area. So I get a call from this reporter named Susie, and they want to do something on AR-15s and just gun laws in general, and really just wants to talk to me about this particular issue. Now, one of the things that I've come to realize about media, in particular today, there used to be a time.
This part's true, by the way.
When someone from the media did a story, they might have some sort of idea
good.
of what they were talking about. And I've come to the realization that, in particular, that's not a requirement for media anymore. In fact, they have absolutely no problem doing a story on something about which they are completely and utterly ignorant.
And may God bless this man for speaking the truth. Lutheran Reformation again, everybody. Make that a meme, widespread it.
That's how we're going to kind of get into today's topic, which is, when an anti-gun story goes horribly wrong.
Save the rest of the coffee.
Now, first, I'll let you guys
Here we
watch
go.
the story, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the other side. So you guys jot down your notes and see if we make some of the.
Hear that, guys? I don't think I quite have paper and pencil. I have a pen. I think I have paper down here. Hold up. Maybe there's some paper in here I can take notes with. Oh, by golly, there is. All right. Got my paper. Got my pen. This is a pen, not paper. And we are going to move my. We're gonna start taking notes. Okay. Sweet. It's gonna be a bit of editing going into this video. Got your coffee, everybody? Hope you do.
Make some of the same few observations.
All right.
And gun lobbyists will tell you this registration process is more intrusive than previous ones, and
it's not. Let's put that one. Actually, yeah, it's not as easy to get Um, that's one.
Also been unsuccessful. As soon as the bill was proposed, manufacturers started working on changes to the gun so owners wouldn't have to register it.
Actually, I don't think that's exactly true, but I'm not going to write that down.
The 18th gun incident since 2018 started.
Parkland, Florida marks.
Okay, so this was May 2018. This confirms my suspicions earlier. It's not too outdated. It's 2019 now, but still.
The third U.S. shooting that prompted State Assemblyman Phil Ting to introduce a gun bill in Sacramento.
This person should not have been allowed to purchase guns, much less possess guns.
Ting's bill would expand the already in place gun violence restraining order. That bill allows loved ones to report a family member they fear could become violent to law enforcement and prevents that person from buying or possessing a gun.
Now, this is what I would have agreed with, because none of my family members would ever would know me. My family members would know me. They'd know if I'd be dangerous. They would know if I, in particular, would be a threat, because they know me. They know me. They live with me. They understand me. But what they're gonna say next is, here, I'll even play it.
Ting's bill introduced today would expand that from loved ones being able to file that report to anyone.
To anyone. Now, let me remind you that a loved one would know me. They know me for who I am. They know everything about me, my interests, my hobbies, my day-to-day life. If you restrict that just from my family members to anyone, that makes it very abusive. And I bring that up because if you make sure that literally anybody, anyone can write that up about me, then it's more than likely going to be by someone who doesn't know my hobbies, who doesn't know me as a person, who doesn't know my hobbies, my day-to-day life, what I'm interested in. They have no idea. It could just be a random person off the street who saw me and says, oh, he's autistic, don't let him buy a gun. That's how it can get very abusive if you just let this happen. And that's scary because it's coming to my hometown, here in Wisconsin, Eau Claire, in the Chippewa Valley. This is already happening in my hometown, which means they're probably going to use my past against me, and some random person off the street could just see me, look at how I act, how I talk, how I walk, and they'll just look at me and say, oh, don't let him buy a gun. He's weird. He's different. You see, this can become very abusive. That's why I would prefer it to be a family member and not just some random person off the street. Again. Or, yeah, maybe even it could be a friend. But we're not going to get into that.
About this, someone who you may or may not know goes to the authorities and tells them that they believe that you are a danger.
That's all my coffee, guys.
Or others.
Gun lobbyist Craig DeLuz points out that California already has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. He says they're not helping here.
Criminals, by
right.
their very definition, don't obey laws. And when you pass laws that simply restrict the rights of law-abiding citizens, that does absolutely nothing.
True. It's true. You pass a law that restricts people who buy their guns legally, it's not going to stop the people who buy their guns illegally, because the people who buy their guns illegally are still going to be buying their heat, but then you're going to have people who are buying their guns legally who can't get a gun. And then you're going to have a lot of cases of victim versus a defenseless victim against predator type stuff. Now, that's something I don't get into. A lot of this stuff I don't get into. But I would love to absolutely get into it at some point in time. Because right now I'm not exactly the biggest of experts on it. But from what I've been talking, you think I am, but I'm not. But it's true. You have people who buy their guns legally. It's not gonna, and you restrict them from doing it. It's not going to restrict the people who are actually committing crimes. And that even gives me into my theology. Let them. Okay, let's let them take away our Second Amendment rights, right? So it's all taken away. We can't purchase a gun anymore. We don't have that right. Is it going to stop the people who are illegally doing it? No. The answer would be no. And in fact, there'd be even more crime than before. And then they'd realize that they royally screwed up, but there wouldn't be anything they could do anything. Or let me rephrase that. They wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they think that what their mindset is that by getting rid of legal abiding gun owners, we're going to get rid of crime. That's not the case. If you get rid of them, then there's going to be a way huge uprising in crime. They're going to realize they screwed up, but by then it's too late. There's already 30 other mass shootings. There's already 30 other mass shootings. There's already 50 other school shootings. There's already been 25 churches shot up. And by this point, they realize they screwed up, but it'll be too late for them. It'll already be too late. They're either dead because they got shot. It's either that or something else happened. And by that moment, it's too late. We can't bring back that right. We can't bring back that amendment. And by that point in time, they realize, okay, we screwed up, bring it back. But then, of course, naturally, the government's going to be like, no, you got rid of this. This is on you. We're not bringing this back. And then that's where that's going to be left off. Let's continue on.
As of January 2017, California began requiring residents to register assault weapons in...
AR-15 is not an assault rifle. Putting that down. I spelled assault wrong. I don't care. I'll put weapon/rifle. 3. Boom. Let's continue.
Including the AR-15. But that prompted manufacturers to release a workaround before the bill even passed, including an AR-15 model with slight revisions that makes the gun legal.
Every time we pass a law, even before the governor signs it, literally the gun manufacturers are finding ways to work around our very specific laws.
Because they want to keep their laws. They want to keep their guns in the ability of and the hands of law-abiding citizens. The reason they do that is because they want their guns to stay in the hands of people. Because an armed society is a safe society. It's like the joke that I always use. Some bank robber, comes to a bank. He comes in the bank, he pulls out his gun, he's like, alright, this is a robbery, give me the money. Then everyone else pulls out their guns, points it at him, and says, no, you get on the ground. Because an armed society is a safe society. If there was a person shooting up a school, let's put that into perspective. If there was somebody who was shooting up a school, then guess what? If everyone else in that school had a gun, and, well, let's say the teachers did. Let's say the teachers, back to when we were thinking of arming teachers. If the teachers had a gun, then there would be less ability for that person to do anything. Because that armed society, because they put guns into the hands of people who would be responsible with them, despite what teachers may tell you, that they would not be responsible with a gun. Trust me, they probably would. More responsible than the students with guns. In fact, if we were to go to an elementary school and give a 3-year-old a gun, you'd probably just be like, ooh, this thing's loaded. Ooh, look at that. Oh, Miss Sweetie, I shot you in the leg. You see? So we have to talk about, okay, would a high schooler be responsible with one? Do they hunt? Do they, etc., etc.? But you'd have to get into the aspect of an armed society is a safe society. That's my point. Moving on.
Okay, so let's start.
All right, Craig, tell us your gospel.
As you can see from the photo that's there, the conversation was about the AR-15. But then she starts talking about a bill that the Assemblyman is going to be introducing that is going to expand gun violence restraining orders. Well, which is it? What's the story about? Is it about
True.
AR-15, or is it about gun violence restraining orders? In particular, is it about California's ban on the AR-15 on semi-automatic centerfire rifles with detachable magazines? That's really what it is. Or is it about gun violence restraining orders? Now, the interesting thing about it is that she's talking about a bill that the Assemblyman has introduced. Well, then why is she showing a bill that was introduced in the past? An old bill that the Assemblyman had introduced. She's not showing a current bill. She's not showing the one that he introduced. Do you know why she's not showing the one he introduced? Because he didn't introduce it that day. The day that they did the story, the day he said he introduced the bill, guess what? He never even introduced it. He was utilizing their contact. He was utilizing that as an opportunity to get himself in the media about a bill that he hadn't even introduced yet. He was just looking to get press, and she fell for it. She didn't bother to, check with the clerk to see if the bill had been filed.
Okay, so none of what I wrote down is something that he's ever said, or he has said. Getting better with my speech. Now, the stuff I wrote down was it's not as easy to get a gun, and AR-15s is not an assault rifle or weapon. He didn't mention anything about that. So, I'm not sure whether I'm good or not at finding stuff out and pointing them out, but you know what? That's fine. Hopefully, I don't ever have to get into any arguments about weapons, because it should be obvious enough that we should keep them. But you know what? That's fine.
The quote-unquote workarounds. All right, so the first issue that I have with the idea of the quote-unquote workaround is this. Is it quote, well, the gun manufacturers. Well, let's just be real. First of all, most of the things that people have come up with weren't invented by those who generally manufacture firearms. Most of them are produced by people who, I don't know, John Q. Citizen, who's sitting there on their workbench, coming up with an idea, a way in which to comply with the law. Any way in which someone complies with the law that they don't like, all of a sudden, it's a loophole.
Yeah, true.
All right, and then on
preach,
top of it,
Craig, preach.
Probably the number one
preach
thing
to these
a
people.
lot of people are doing in order to make sure they're compliant is going featureless, which, by the way, has always been in existence. Has always been something that people
Coffee's kicking in.
People have always have chosen to go featureless in order to comply with the law. That's not a workaround. That's always been there. That's always been the case. How exactly is it a workaround if it's always existed? That's what happens. Now, mind you, let's also talk about gun violence restraining orders. Now,
yes.
When we get into talking about gun violence restraining orders, and this was the thing that really bugged me about kind of the way in which Susie handled this story. So she asked me about what's the issue with gun violence restraining orders, and you see that she allowed me to kind of start talking. She's the very beginning of it, because I talked about she said, what is it about gun violence restraining orders that concerns you? I said, here's what happens. Somebody you may or may not know goes to the authorities and tells them that you are a danger to yourself or others. That's where they cut it off. What she doesn't tell you is then they hold a secret hearing that you don't get to go to. Why don't you get to go to it? Because you don't even know about it. You're not even told about it. In this hearing, evidence is presented, and it's one-sided evidence. It's hearsay evidence because, quite frankly, once again, you're not there to defend yourself. And then they find that you are a danger to yourself or others. And issued with this gun violence restraining order, causing you to lose your right to keep and bear arms, is a gun seizure warrant. This gun seizure warrant is given to the authorities, and they are told this individual is a danger to themselves or others and should not own firearms. We need you to go and disarm him. Now, we all know that when they come to disarm you, they are not coming with the welcome wagon. They're not bringing candy and flowers. They're coming armed to the teeth. A SWAT team is going to be coming, and they are going to come to take your guns. And guess what? All of this you don't even know about.
True.
Now, that
True.
is my entire quote. I said it a little bit more succinctly than that, but you guys get the fact that I'm a little bit riled up about Miss Susie and her her lackadaisical attitude towards this story. All of these folks, anybody can now go to the courts and say, well, hey.
And then he could have added this: a literal random person off the street who saw you doing this because you're autistic can now basically take away any chance of being able to grab a gun just because, he's autistic, he shouldn't be able to own one. Hello. So I always like to think of these things, because you can't just restrict that to everybody. Everybody shouldn't be able to have the rights, hello, Becky, to just be able to take the ability for you to even have a gun. Because me personally, I've always dreamed of the day that I go to the gun store and I buy a gun. That could be easily taken away by just some random person off the street saying, oh, he's autistic, I'm going to go here, I'm going to consider him a danger or a threat. Via if it was my family member who would actually have the evidence to prove it, who would have the ability to know if I am or not just some random person who only sees me like once a day or once every week. You see what I'm getting at here. So, I mean, I would prefer it to be my family member. I mean, if I was going to lose my guns, I wouldn't want to just lose it to some random, I don't want to say this, but butthole. I would want to lose it to somebody who I could trust, knows that I'm a danger to myself or somebody else. Moving on.
This guy's a danger to himself or others. Now, and I want you to ask yourself this before you say, well, gosh, the judicial system, judges, they're going to take this stuff seriously. You know what? You guys have seen the rulings that have been coming out of these courts. Do you really have faith that there are not judges out there who are simply so anti-gun, so anti-Second Amendment, so wanting to make sure that they are not going to be on the wrong side of one of these? That they were the guy who let the mass shooter out there? You sure that they're not just going to issue it and say, well, hey, he'll get to come to me in 21 days and plead his case? Really? You have that level of faith? Really? I don't.
Really?
And you guys know me. I'm Mr. Law and Order. I used to believe in the judicial system. I believe in law enforcement. But I used to believe in the judicial system. But the more I deal with judges,
True.
The more I come to find out, yeah, they're, I don't know. I believe in a healthy skepticism of government. I believe the founding fathers, when you look at what they wrote about and you look at how they designed our government, they believed in a skeptical. They believed in a healthy skepticism or lack of trust
True.
when it comes to government. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember, this is the home in the fight for civil rights, okay? Folks, we need...
That's where I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my chiming in on my own personal problems with the story. So if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and peace out, everybody. Peace out. Remember, Luther Reformation, make that a meme. See ya.